Partnered by Times Influence.
As technology disrupts businesses across the globe, the banking sector is evolving to incorporate these changes. The PayIT Conclave 2017 saw industry leaders and experts come together to look at reinventing banking for future growth. We bring you the highlights of a power-packed day.
What really is the transformation which is currently taking place, and how do you see the future evolving?
The quality of assets which has deteriorated so badly in the industry is now killing the growth of the industry. It's not allowing the profits, not allowing the industry to grow, not allowing the industry to lend, not allowing the industry to take risk. This is a very unusual situation, and therefore solutions will have to be. We are at a very interesting phase of the growth of the economy, where we are growing at consistently at 6%, 7%, 8%. Going forward, perhaps 7% plus. That kind of growth will also generate huge banking opportunities on the retail space. And therefore, I see no other future but have massive adoption of technology in the entire banking space.
On the fund side, what is the differentiating strategy that should be adopted to stay relevant and grow?
See, the fund side, there are two aspects. One is the performance of the scheme. And now we can't hide the performance of the scheme. So to perform, it's not the ratio of 80-20. 80% has to be on the fundamental. And these fundamental can only come when any investment company is really fully integrated and fully automated and has the best of the class application in the place. And second part is the customer services. And the customer servicing, we have a challenge. One is challenge is again the banking system is a challenge. Second challenge is about the regulations.
And technology is changing, and it's changing the way in which fundamentally we are, we are living. I would say the way we are really living in this world. And let me just share with you why I say that. This is an ID card, an implant, which this startup hub center, Epicenter in Sweden gives, and people who are working there can implant it in their finger, in body, and then it can be used for anything. But it's the identity. So Swedish Rail today is allowing ticketing by the passengers through this implant. Recent studies are showing that in China, the cash is really vanishing. Tourism industry out there is really concerned that if cash is not available, then how tourists who are just coming in and do not have the ability to load their wallet, a mobile wallet, how will they transact? Right? So they are thinking of solutions for a problem which is something new, which was not there otherwise. If you look at what's happening in India, if you see UPI, although you would say the base is small, but the way the UPI is growing, and along with that, rest of the payment mechanisms are growing, we are seeing significant growth. It showed 85% month-on-month growth. If this kind of growth continues, even half of this continues for another few years, we're going to see huge jump.
In 2012, Aditya Birla My Universe was created with the vision of providing customers a single place to look at their aggregated financial health. Kunal talked about robo-advisory. We didn't use that term, but pretty much what we did in 2015 when we created this concept called ZipSip, which was India's first paperless SIP with a paperless KYC. You didn't have to give your photocopy documents or upload anything, and you could pretty much do everything in a single journey, pay the first transaction through your debit card, do an e-mandate, and off you went and your SIP was set up. On the mutual fund platform, obviously we distribute about 25 AMCs. So their AMCs see us as a mousetrap where we can digitally acquire a customer, and 50% of the customers we acquire are non-KYC. That means they were not already KYC. The fintech and the tech is in the management. So anybody who buys our health insurance, we ask him to download our app. That is a must. Whether he has a Fitbit or a Garmin or a Goki, or even if he just uses the pedometer of that phone, is linked to the app, and we track his healthy events. Healthy event is 10,000 steps a day. We have gym memberships which are part of the plan. A gym visit is an active day. You ate, if you connect it with your calorific intake, you had a good meal, so that gives you some healthy points. So based on all your wellness things which you do, we actually track you, saying that when you join, this is your baseline. So you're a 45-year-old, but your healthy heart age is 47. You're 2 years older than your physical age. So how can we get you to 45 or even 43? By just making you fitter. So we believe the best you is the fitter you. So we are not like a health insurance company who says, बीमार हो जाओ और बाद में reimbursement ले लो. हम बीमार ही नहीं होने देंगे.
Whenever any new technology comes, there's a lot of hype around it that, kind of circles it. Everybody talks about it and thinks of it as the next big thing, after brown bread maybe. But frankly, is blockchain really that technology for the banking sector? Is it or just a fad? Or is it actually a threat to the banking sector, considering the way it actually operates?
According to me, I don't see blockchain as a threat to the banking sector at all. So basically, it's a technology. Okay, the way we've been using UPI as one of the technology for making payments. Okay, blockchain is one of the technology. Banks may adopt this to their advantage to make frictionless payments, or to that matter any other contract that happens between two parties. So I don't see that as a threat. According to me, at least in India, okay, there are a couple of use cases, okay, of blockchain. Remittance could be one of them, okay, invert remittance, and trade finance could be another use case.
Never be a threat to the banking sector, because banks are governed by a regulator, right? So banks will never die in life. So, and it's a technology, right? Blockchain is not a banking. So what will happen? There will be many more use cases. Take example, you spoken about crowdfunding or a P2P kind of a stuff, which will happen. But ultimately, money has to be somewhere, right, where the banks will play their role. So apart from these, there are many more use cases are coming up, or which banks were not there, like that. So I would say it will enable the operations of the banks. So, and it will also make all the overall operations easy. There will not be kind of a next day settlement or a kind of one hacking, or the way we are implementing so many channels and so many things, or so many payment options are available. So it's also an option for creating some kind of an havoc through hacking them. So, but through this blockchain kind of architecture, it will ease out. And as blockchain is improving, and slowly we will get more benefits out of it. So for a banking, in a nutshell, we should keep on experimenting, so that use cases like trade finance, supply chain, and the foreign remittance, wherein a lot of manpower goes, a lot of cost goes, so that ultimately we rely on a technology so that you can save something out of that. So blockchain is one of those radical agents, apart from many other, will help.
How ready is the technology to be put to real business use?
Banks, or for that matter any company, they are already a blockchain, a private blockchain. The only thing is, I just bank, for example, I'm just taking as an example. We have our processes, we have our products, we have our services, we have our delivery mechanism, we have our reconciliation mechanism, we have our customer experience mechanism. We are already a private blockchain network. The problem, where is the potential? Potentially we have a paper blockchain. So what blockchain is going to do is going to digitize each of the interactions. If it can do that, then I will become from a private blockchain network, which is paper-based blockchain network at this point of time. So many authentication documents, this and that, on that. All that will get digital. And if it goes digital, it is available on cloud. If it is available, it can be fetched by everybody. It can be certified by everybody. It can be more credence can be lent to these kind of things. So the biggest opportunity at this point of time I see banks is move from you are already a paper blockchain network, become a digital blockchain network. The second thing, which you were talking about, the threat and all, there is a huge threat. Okay, when it comes to technologies like blockchain, there is a problem. What traditionally banks have been doing, they are actually playing the role of an intermediary. You are taking fund from somebody, you are giving fund to somebody. Within the country, because of the regulations, everything well defined, everything works properly. To some extent, maybe once in a while here and there. But the moment you talk about cross-border interactions, the moment you talk about cross-border transactions, now you are geographically not there. The rules of the game are different in each country. The regulation is different in each country. This is where blockchain can actually bring that kind of standardization. So when it comes to global collaboration, the global transactions, the wholesale banking is where blockchain actually can be very, very helpful. Now,
They're using the same technology, the traditional business model of a bank also can be disrupted. And peer-to-peer lending is already doing that. The main game, which is my intermediary game, actually can be disrupted.
The banking system has to gear itself to deal with the quantum and the number of transactions, number of customers. And those customers will not be the customers of only banking services. Those customers will be the customers of whole range of financial products, mutual funds, credit cards, insurance. And they will be looking to the bank to distribute for assessing these products. So that's a very, very major challenge which is coming up. And for this kind of level of work, which will be where trillions of transactions will be required to be done, huge digital transformation I'm foreseeing coming into the banking sector in the next couple of years' time. It's already happening, but will further gather pace in times to come.
We are saying that the digital marketing, online sales are increasing rapidly. Then the processes, various operations, ops which we have, is going to be fully automated. All mundane job will be now handed over to the IT system to take care. Investment team is using and will be using extensively the artificial intelligence to meet the investor's requirement.
The one big change in the disruptive landscape of financial services which I see is that the customer is being bombarded by digital messages from different partners, whether banks, financial institutions, partners, e-commerce companies. So I think you have to be able to segment and have sharp targeted offers to a customer, which is very relevant to them. And I think digital gives us that platform.
Welcome back. Thought-provoking discussions and interactions on reinventing banking for future growth continue at the PayIT Conclave 2017.
What do you think this whole hype about fintechs trying to challenge bank, rather work with them? What has been your experience as a startup and focusing on this ecosystem? Where do you see the future? What are the things that you believe that are going to be game changers?
I think there's a new word that I would probably add to this, which is I feel a lot of people are feeling these days, which is also very overwhelming. Because there's so much happening in the space, right? There are so many players coming every day. There is like almost every month, I think I hear a new app or a new platform being developed. And even the most tech-savvy people I know of actually are not able to understand where the space is headed towards. Because there is a lot of intervention that is happening from the government. There's a lot of intervention happening from MNCs like coming from abroad, like that are seeing interest in payments. So who would have thought like someone like a WhatsApp or a Google would be interested in payment space in India, right?
Yep.
And at the same time, we'd also see the traditional banks also having the foray into the same space, as well as like the fintechs trying to actually make their market as well. So I think there is just overload of information that is going on right now. And I think there is a time which will take about maybe 2 to 3 years for that dust to settle down to figure out like who are the 2 or 3 top players who are eventually going to be there at the base of it. I'm definitely gung-ho on UPI for the P2P payment place and Bharat QR for the merchant engagement piece.
We come to yours now. You're in an interesting business, money transfer, a lot of consolidation happening, a lot of acquisitions happening, exciting times, new models emerging. How do you see your business changing and what do you see a future for your business?
I see this in the future, maybe in another 2 years down the lane, international remittances. Most of them will be just drag and drop in their mobile.
Interesting.
You don't have to do anything because everything is getting connected. Banks and countries, banks, central banks, all are getting switched. For the customer, you will have an app, and I will have my beneficiaries' bank and all saved into that app, and I just drag and drop the amount, everything gets over. And it will be all interoperable between the countries. So that is in the global remittance. In India, I think we have to go a long way because when you talk about digital in India, for me it is like the labor class. The labor class, the daily wages, the daily payments, you're buying things, then that becomes digital. Actually, we can say India has become digital, not by white collar people using mobile and paying. And that is a big challenge. Regulator has to bring in interoperability for private players because today it's not available. So once that comes, I think all these mobile companies, all this, they will play an aggressive role to promote the wallets, and you can transfer to any account, you can transfer to any wallet from one wallet to another. All that will come. It has to come, and maybe another 2-3 years it will come, and that will bring your mass population making payments using UPI, their app to another person's QR code on the mobile.
So if you were to, let's say, restrict to up to 3 obstacles for this future that we are envisaging, because if the digital India has to happen, money has to be digital. Without digital money, you can't have digital Bharat. So if that's the case, what are the 3 obstacles that our country needs to fix?
To me, the first one is going to be reach. It has to reach everyone,
Access, okay.
everywhere in every corner. Yeah. And second one is the scalability of the infrastructure that's there. Okay. And the third one is...
Can you elaborate infrastructure? Because we use this term, but...
Yeah, we use it a lot because if we look at 1,000 people using at a particular time, it's more of how many concurrent users can be using a particular service.
Yeah.
It boils down to that. Okay, so from that perspective, we need to see how to get an optimal infrastructure in place. Okay, be it the hardware, be it the network storage, the various elements which are there. Okay, and also your authentication. And the third one is going to be how profitable is this going to be to the organization, business model.
Very important, I agree.
What is it that banks could do? I call it a 3-step process. Yeah. Step 1, digitization. Very simple. We don't change our core, we change the way we operate. If you look at our story, and the underlying point there is, how do I improve the process efficiency? Banking that way is very simple. How do I get customers? How do I encourage them to keep money with us? Which is effectively on the fundamentals of a branch at the core, supported by our own employees, and another partner ecosystem. That's it. The second phase, I believe, is transformation, is what we are going through right now, where the customer used to come to the branches. We extended by our DSAs and our employees going to the customer, which are still physical. We moved it around, and there are access channels, whether it be the internet or the mobile, playing this role. The customer experience is changing. 24/7, pick it up wherever we want. That is what excites us most. That is the digitization that we speak about, the reimagination of the banking business model as it exists. Today the customer was experiencing far off, can the banks be there in every economic cycle, in every customer journey? How can we do it? And that is what the fintechs, whether it be a Google Page or whether it's a WhatsApp or a Tencent in China, is what is pushing us. So this is the cycle that we would like to traverse.
What needs to be done at the core, both in terms of the infrastructure as well as the software at the core?
In this 3-tier architecture, there is a presentation, consumer, middleware, and the underlying core provider system. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, the core, which is the either an infrastructure or the applications which are providing, have they reached that level of agility? While at the provider consumer level, we need that agility, but at the provider level, I don't think so personally. We have reached that level of agility to meet those needs. And primarily, the reason I would say, because obviously lots of banks which are old, they have invested in the legacy, the technologies which are there. So we have to go towards that era wherein all your provider systems are providing microservices for them to be consumed. It has started, but not all the applications are ready in terms of having those microservices for it to take care.
Kamal, coming to you, you are from a bank that is a very new bank, compared to many of the other banks that are there. And your infrastructure requirements, readiness, are different. So what are some of the implications of that, specific to your bank's business model?
Bandhan Bank is just a 2-year-old bank, and prior to that, the data which we had was only for loan accounts, and that was pretty small compared to what we were discussing just now. And we moved into the core banking system. After that, as we started growing, we had to have many more applications, and those applications, because they are new in terms of architecture, it's easy to connect and call for APIs and get the data service to various channels like mobile or ATM or internet banking and many more. So this is pretty easy for us. This is one part of the story. But having said that, there is another dimension. We are actually servicing a lot of rural clients, the low-income group. More than 95% of our loans are actually in the rural masses. This kind of infrastructure chain, which we are using from that last mile till the back end, is proving to be very, very efficient for us. So this kind of a scenario, and then we are slowly also moving in the digital space also. So with the new set of applications, Aadhaar-enabled payment systems and all, that also we are pushing for the high-end borrowers and high-end clients in the metros and urban towns.
Are you seeing increasing investments in infrastructure by banking customers into areas that are now part of the new age, banking practices, which is like say customer experience management?
We've been fortunate to be associated with a majority of the banks. So if I would imagine 8 out of the 10 banks, top 10 banks. The simple and straightforward answer to your question is yes. I guess everybody realizes time and data are the new currencies of the future world, and anything to do with it takes you to be a little more digital than you were in the past. So everything else then becomes a subset of this activity. So all of those that you asked, the clear answer is yes. And I can tell you bank by bank, and of course some of these are clear, I think, competitive advantages that these banks drive. So without naming them, I think virtually all of them are doing something in that direction in all of these areas. And of course some of them are publicly available, so with most of the public sector banks that we are associated with. The rest maybe not, but virtually all of them, yes. The answer is yes.
If you want to invigorate banking at the core, what we require are essentially some of the core design principles reimagined. Whether you want it or not, you must be ready for this. You going and operating somewhere else, someone else coming and operating in you. Experience will rule. I am spending maximum amount of time on WhatsApp. I would like to do everything on WhatsApp. Your IT stack has to provide it. And you have to build it when you are doing enterprise architecture, when you are doing architecture of your IT stack. The race for the mind space will be the battlefield of the future. How you do it? Architecture. Spend money on architecture. Interest and fee income will cease to be the drivers of profit of banks. It is monetization of data and monetization of insights which will rule. Data is called as new oil, but data is the crude oil. You will have to have the refinery of data and analytics to get a useful product.
This entire change is going to be extremely volatile and uncertain. And it's going to raise, as it raises opportunities, it's also going to raise questions. And a platform like PayIT, I think, will bring in like-minded people, encourage debate, and hopefully find a resolution to some of these issues by means of bringing up these issues, precipitating them, and finding a solution.
When the definition of win is not just your muscle power or your money power or the IT stack, but the user experience and the collaboration index, I think these are the most appropriate ways of getting to know people, collaborating with people, understanding what others are doing, so that you always aim for the new delta, which is the new way of life.
I think this is a fantastic platform. It brings lots of innovative minds onto this platform and get excellent ideas which can corroborate and collaborate and helps the entire BFSI domain. So I think it's a fantastic platform, and CMR should continue, and PayIT and CMR should continue with this.
Partnered by Times Influence.